This is 4.4 part 2. Let's continue with the factoring example we're doing here, example number 2. So we're taking out the greatest common factor from the two groups that we had here. So from over here, our greatest common factor would be 3. So plus 3 brackets there. If you take out 3, you get 2x minus 1. It looks like we're good. We have 2x minus 1 there and 2x minus 1 there, so that can be factored out from our terms. So we get 2x minus 1 as one of the brackets, multiplied by the other bracket with the leftovers there, 5x plus 3. And so what we've done is we've factored this over here, even though we didn't have an a that was equal to 1. And then we can proceed to verify just to make sure that we're on the right track. So we're verifying. We're simply going to expand this over here. So we have, let's do that, so 2x minus 1 multiplied by 5x plus 3. And we're going to see if after expanding using FOIL we end up with the same standard form from above. So we have our 2x times 5x is 10x squared. Then 2x times 3 is plus 6x. Then minus 1 times 5x is minus 5x. And then minus 1 times 3 is minus 3. And that gives us our final cleaned up expression of 10x squared plus 6x minus 5x is plus x minus 3. And it brings us back to the standard form we had initially. So that means that we factored correctly. Let's move on to example 3 now to see how we do that one. So this case is a little bit interesting. You'll notice that if you observe your expression carefully, you can actually take out a common factor. Not necessarily with a variable, but with a coefficient. So let's try to find the greatest common factor that we can take out of here. It looks like it's going to be 2. You can actually take 2 out of here as our greatest common factor. So we get something like this. If we take 2 out, you divide every term by 2, you get 16y squared. Divided by 2 is 8y squared. Then minus 50y divided by 2 is minus 25y. And then plus 36 divided by 2 is 18, plus 18. So now we're going to work on factoring what's on the inside of the bracket. So we're going to work with this 8y squared minus 25y plus 18. Remember that we want to find two numbers that when you multiply them, they'll give you a product of a times c. In other words, of 8 times 18. And that's 144. And when you add them together, they'll give you a sum of b. So the sum should be negative 25. And so two numbers that might do that could be, let's try minus 16 times minus 9. That gives you 144. You can plug that into your calculator if you're not sure. If you're good with multiplication, you might want to try the product first. If you're better with addition, you might want to try the sum first. So you would have found that minus 16 plus minus 9, in other words minus 9, is equal to negative 25. So negative 16 and negative 9 work well. And so we're going to proceed using our decomposition rule. So that's going to be equal to 2 times 8y squared. And we'll decompose the middle term, minus 25y. We'll decompose that using our numbers that we found here. So we'll get minus 16y minus 9y. That's still minus 25y if you were to combine them again, but they're decomposed. We end up with 4 terms there. plus 18. We end up with groups that are fairly easy to find the greatest factor. So we'll go ahead and continue that. Don't forget that 2 that's outside of the brackets. A lot of students forget that. So don't forget that 2. So we have 2. We're going to make some square brackets here to show that we're going to have more brackets. We're going to have brackets within the brackets. So from 8y squared minus 16y, it looks like we can take out an 8y. And we get y minus 2 when you divide each term there by 8y. And from negative y plus 18, it looks like you could take out a negative 9. So if you take out a negative 9, and you divide each term by negative 9, you get y minus 2. And then we'll close that off with those square brackets here. And so now what you'll notice is we have y minus 2 in common with the 8y and the negative 9, something we can factor out. So let's continue that there. We'll end up with 2. One of the brackets will be y minus 2 because it's a common factor now. And the other bracket is going to be what's left over, 8y minus 9. And so this one is a little bit different from the previous ones because we could actually take out the greatest common factor from here. It still didn't leave us with an a that's equal to 1. Sometimes it will do that, as we saw in the previous lesson, but this time it didn't. But it still made it a little bit easier to factor it as best we could. And then to verify again, you would expand to see that you have the correct factoring done. So let's try that out. Let's verify by expanding using FOIL. It's equal to 2, y minus 2, 8y minus 9. And so when we expand, we'll expand our brackets here first. We'll do our 2 after. We get y times 8y, which is 8y squared, minus 2 times 8y, which is minus 16y. Then we get y times 9, which is minus 9y. And then we do minus 2 times 8y, which, we do minus 2 times minus 9, which is plus 18. And then we can go and clean it up a little bit. So we get 2, let's simplify our terms here. So 8y squared minus 9 minus 16 minus 9 is minus 25y plus 18. And then you can go and you can multiply that 2, distribute it into all the terms there. So 2 times 8y squared is 16y squared. 2 times negative 25 is negative 50y. And then 2 times 18 is plus 36. And if you compare, you'll have the same standard form that you started off with, which means that you factored everything correctly. So now you can go back and try these examples again. Make sure you practice verifying as well. And then you can do the homework problems in order to really solidify your factoring skills. You want to make sure you become efficient at doing this and spotting when you need to do greatest common factor, when you don't need to do it, when you need to do decomposition, and when you don't need to do it. Make sure you look at that a value. If you have the a value of equal to 1, you don't need to do decomposition. If you have an a value that's different from 1, then chances are you're going to have to do decomposition.